Today's conversation is sponsored by First Generation Capital Partners. If you're an accredited investor and you want to know about how we're helping other accredited investors keep more of their income, go to firstgencp.com/going long.
You're listening to the Going Long podcast with Billy Keels, the #1 podcast for long-distance real asset investing.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Yes, this is Billy Keels. I'm back. We're doing something a little bit different today. Today you'll notice that it's just me, not anybody else. And one of the main reasons is because you have given us that feedback that you want to see more of me. You want to hear more about the things that I'm thinking about so that you can also tap into really kind of where are we going? What are we thinking about? And so I thought what we'd do today is just share one of the things that is really close to my heart, something that I see that's happening. And by me sharing this story with you, I want you to be able to move closer to your personal freedom goals even faster. And so as you've continued to be here with us on the Going Long podcast, and you've listened to so many different guests that share their insight with you, today, I want to share something with you that's close to my heart and something that I know is going to help you really build a foundational knowledge and start to break down some of the barriers that could hold you back from moving forward. And I want to go back to my college days, because one of the things that happened in college, and I went to Miami of Ohio in the southwest of Ohio, and it was a great university, or is a great university. And one of those places where it was fantastic. You know, you worked really, really hard studying, of course, lots and lots of studying. And then typically like on Thursdays and the week, you started getting into the weekends. Those were the days. So you start getting into the weekends on the Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and those were just fantastic nights. But one of the things that happened in college was when it was that time, especially, we really enjoyed going to what we called the uptown area. So you basically went to the different bars and you were there and you saw people. And the great part about the college atmosphere was when you went to the bar, you pretty much saw everyone. You saw people that were athletes. You saw people that were just students who were studying. You saw scholars. You saw sorority and fraternity members. Everybody was there in the bars. And it was like one of those places which was fantastic, because when you're in the bar and you're there, you're mixing and mingling, and you could literally, like I would walk around the bars and just talk to different people all day long. You got the full circle around the bar. And it was great because there was a lot of socializing that was happening, a lot of interactions, and you had access to everyone. And that was fantastic. And that's what I started getting used to. And the thing that happened was when I finished that job, or when I finished that college experience, I should say, when I finished that college experience and went to work, things kind of changed. Because in my very first job, I was working and traveling throughout 58 countries. And I think I've told most of you that, or if you've heard that before, and now you know that I love traveling and traveled to 86 countries at this point in time. But right after college, when I started traveling, I still had some of those same habits. And although now I was with new people, one of the things we still like to do was be able to go to bars and be able to see and meet other people. The difference was, as I started now going to bars in the real world, like out of college, now in the real world, when I would go to the bars, I noticed something very different. And it didn't matter if I was in New York City, if I was in St. Louis, Missouri, if I was in Buenos Aires, it was something that was very similar. And what that was when I would go out, I would go to the bars. But when I went to the bars now, I couldn't do the same full loop that I was doing before. And it was really interesting because I would walk in and walk around, but there was always a point where I kind of got stopped. And I got stopped at this point where usually there was somebody who was like 4 or 5 times bigger than me, stronger than me, but always in a very nice suit. And every single time, the people that were behind them were they looked very glamorous. They looked fashionable. And the thing is, where they had the best view of the entire bar. And what I came to find out is this was the VIP section, the very important persons section, right? And what I didn't understand is when I felt very uncomfortable walking up to ask if I could move in, and I got the looks like, don't even get close. And I didn't have anybody that I could ask, like, what do I need to be able to get in there? And so it was one of those things that I felt really, really uncomfortable about. But as I started asking other people, well, they started helping me to understand that, well, either you needed to be wearing certain types of shoes, or you needed to have a certain amount of money in your pocket. But once you had met those criteria, or usually you had to know somebody as well. Like once you knew somebody, then they also helped to give you access. And in the beginning, I didn't have any access. I couldn't get into the VIP rooms. But eventually, as you start meeting people, you start understanding what are the different things that you need to get in. Well, of course, then I would travel around the world 3-4 years later, and it was much easier to get into the VIP rooms, right? It didn't seem as exclusive because I started learning and understanding the rules of the game. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, why are you telling us this, Billy? This is okay. This is great. This is about you traveling around the world. Well, it's one of the things that nowadays I understand because I am having so many different conversations with people who are very high paid, 6 and 7 figure account executives, middle level executives for software companies, software SaaS companies, people who are doctors. And it runs the gamut from gynecologists to anesthesiologists to general practitioners to nephrologists, speaking to different types of attorneys. And one of the things that when we are speaking, I mean, even recently I started speaking to people that were in professional sports franchises, right? But one of the things that happens is when I'm having these conversations, we start talking about different investment opportunities. We talk about accredited investors. And usually I've had the commentary multiple times. They're like, oh, no, I'm not an accredited investor. And I'm like, are you sure? You are an anesthesiologist and you don't think you're an accredited investor? Oh, no, I don't think so. So what is that? And so what I want to be able to do is to share with you and just really start to demystify some of these concepts that can be holding you back, because contrary to popular belief, the things that you don't know can and typically do hold you back from being able to get to the goals that you want to get to in life. And so I want to just really break this down very, very simply for everybody, because if you are an accredited investor, what that means is you can gain access to that kind of VIP room. And why is that important? Well, it's important because if what you're looking for is to gain more control over your personal freedom, when you can gain access, first of all, when you gain the education, you understand that you are part of this club. And secondly, it also gets you access to this room so that you can ultimately be able to get access to very exclusive types of opportunities. But those exclusive types of opportunities are ultimately going to allow you to go through, see if they're the right things for you, but that can actually speed up your time to freedom, your personal freedom, meaning you're investing in things that are not only generating cash flow for you, but also normally are extremely tax efficient. And especially if you're someone who's an accredited investor, you are paying lots in taxes. This is one of the main areas that I've seen in interacting with wealthy people that they focus a lot of time on. So let me just spend a couple seconds, maybe a minute or two, that explains to you specifically what it takes to become an accredited investor. Because if you know, then you won't be like I was and you walk to the door and you didn't really feel comfortable asking to get in. You will already know the criteria so that you know to ask and let people know when you see that something is for accredited investors only, that you're already a part of the club. So now it's about continuing the education, gaining access to those types of opportunities, and then seeing if it's the right thing for you. So I'm going to give you the top 3 things that people talk about as becoming qualified as an accredited investor. And this is very specific to the United States or US citizens living abroad. And this is something that the Internal Revenue Service has a qualification for people who are accredited investors. So the very first way to see if you're an accredited investor is if you are someone who, based on income, has earned $200,000 in the previous 2 years. So we're talking about this now in 2022. So to give you an example, it would be in the years 2020 and 2021 that you earned $200,000 and you're reasonably expected to earn that this year. That would make you an accredited investor. If you filed jointly, you and your spouse, the previous 2 years, you earned $300,000 and you're expected to earn $300,000 this year. So based on income, if you meet those criteria, you would be an accredited investor. You have to have these things verified by a third party. However, usually it's your CPA, your financial advisor, or there are third-party companies that will help you to verify that you are an accredited investor based on income. The other way is based on your net worth. And if you are someone or as a couple, you have $1 million in net worth, not including your primary residence, that also would qualify you as an accredited investor. Once again, speak to your CPA about this and have it verified, but that's the second criteria based on your net worth. The third is actually based on testing or having accreditations, credentials, certifications, things like that, like the Series 7, the Series 65, and the Series 82, I believe. You want to check those just in case. But those are really the three main criteria. So if you meet one or all three of these criteria, then that would make you an accredited investor. And so what that means, once again, is that you can gain access to that VIP room so that you can ultimately, like when you do that, which means that you are going to get closer to your personal freedom because you're gaining access to investment types of opportunities that probably 90% of the public will never see. And when you can gain access to that because you have the educational foundation, then you can really make some decisions that are going to help you and your family get closer to your life goals. So, like I said, this is one of the things that has been on my mind lately because I'm having so many different conversations. I know you've heard me talk about it here more, but one of the things that I feel like is important that I want to share with you is exactly that, really understanding more about what is an accredited investor, if you meet the criteria as an accredited investor, and then ultimately, if you want to gain access to specific, exclusive, unique type of investment opportunities, it's one of the things that you can now take action to do. So with that stated, here's the thing. This was the first of what we hope are many conversations where I'm sharing the things that are happening or the things that are on my mind, or maybe we'll talk about current events. But I need your help in terms of making sure that this is exactly what you want. So if you have not had a chance already to leave us an honest written review as well as a rating, this is the perfect time to do that, especially if you are on the Apple Podcast platform. Say that 3 times real fast, because based on what you tell me, then we're going to continue to do these types of conversations, these types of solo episodes. If I don't hear back from you, then I'll assume that you don't want to hear these types of episodes, so I won't do them. But if you want to hear more about the things that I am thinking about, the things that I have on my mind, or the things that I think are really relevant for you, then as part of the Going Long family, I want to make sure that I'm doing and delivering the things that are important to you. So let me know, leave us that honest written review as well as rating. I'd really appreciate it. And you know what? Take into consideration today's conversation. Really share this conversation. Talk about it with other people, or just shoot me an email. I'd be happy to talk to you about it. If you're looking for new types of things to think about, to talk about, well, listen, this is one of the things that I've had on my mind a lot, because these are a lot of the conversations that I'm having with people who are already accredited investors, but typically because they probably didn't grow up with other people who are accredited investors, they didn't even know. And this can be a game changer. It can get you to your goals much faster, spending more of the quality time and allowing you to claim your personal freedom. So listen, everybody, share today's conversation, share today's episode, and don't forget to leave me that honest written review as well as ratings to see if we're going to continue to do more of these. I'd like to think we are, or not. So go out, make it a great day, and thank you very much. Trust that you enjoyed today's conversation. And once again, today's conversation was sponsored by First Generation Capital Partners. If you're an accredited investor and want to find out more about how we're helping accredited investors to gain their personal freedom even faster, go to firstgencp.com/going long.